Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and with me is County Manager Larry Werner. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about the April 21st meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. They met up at Lake Tahoe. And on that agenda, commissioners did approve a resolution to reorganize the East Fork Fire Protection District. And what kind of changes are going to take place there?
The change that would be ultimately would result, if the process goes through, would be to have an elected board of directors for the East Fork Fire District, as opposed to having the county commissioners sit as the directors for the East Fork Fire. It actually would separate that as a separate board, give it a little more autonomy, also reduces some of the load off of the county commissioners on dealing with some of the county stuff. There's been a lot of activity going on there, and I believe this is also a recommendation of a grand jury report quite a few years ago. So essentially this would start that process.
Okay, so this would be the creation of their own East Fork Fire Protection District Board, rather than have county commissioners sit as the board.
Correct.
And that's gone on for a number of years, hasn't it? I mean, that the commissioners have been
I believe since inception, probably. I think that's how it was originally created, and it's kind of that way with a lot of districts. Whether you wish to start off with being kind of an adjunct to the county commissioners or a separate elected board, and I think they look at it from a standpoint of what's the best fit for making the thing work, and I think the East Fork Fire looked like it made sense for the county commissioners to be it at the time of inception. And I wish I could remember when it was created, but it slipped my mind. But I think now everybody thinks it's probably time maybe to have their own board.
I see, and that will be an elected board?
Yes, ultimately the county commissioners would appoint the board members, and then from that point forward there would be an election, just like with some of the other GIDs, MGSD, the towns.
So they'd be nonpartisan type?
I believe that's correct. I'd have to check the statute whether it's partisan or nonpartisan, because that seems to be kind of the flavor of the day. County commissioners are partisan, for example, and Carson City's Board of Supervisors are nonpartisan. And
interesting.
Yeah, how and why, I can't tell you.
So we'll be seeing this one coming back before the commission.
Yes, this come back. The resolution gets approved, and then there's a series of steps that have to be taken through the Fire Chief Carlini and the board to make that happen. A lot of public notices, a lot of discussions. So it will take a little bit of time.
Okay, so this may not even happen until next year to actually have their own board?
I think they're trying to do it sometime probably during the last quarter of this year. So it's
all right.
Yeah.
Very good. We'll watch for that to come back up again. Also at that April 21st meeting, commissioners approved language regarding the November 2016 Douglas County fuel revenue indexing ballot question. And I think that's kind of a two-parter there. Maybe a little explanation of what fuel indexing is,
right,
and then about the ballot question.
Yes, a little history on it. Several years ago, the Clark County and Washoe County were able to do indexing of the fuel tax that they collected. But anyway, it's the cost of petroleum, and as it goes up and down, and the indexing kind of keeps track of because that relates to the cost of construction going up, and therefore, like the nickel gas tax, if there's high inflation in the petroleum product industry, doesn't get you very far in buying asphalt and that sort of thing. So the idea was to kind of match those two so that your buying power stayed the same for road construction and road maintenance. So Washoe County and Clark County had done it, and then the other counties had requested the legislature to allow the smaller counties to do it, and the Nevada legislature then passed this law that says each county will put this on a ballot question in their own county, and then based on that result, the county may or may not elect to do indexing. So it's kind of a two-step process too. There will be, on the November election, would be whether or not the county can do it, and if they can, then they have to go through an ordinance process to invoke the actual tax. The statute also limited the amount that the indexing can go up, and it was 7.8% of this inflationary deal. We revised the question in Douglas and Carson City to limit it to no more than 3 cents per gallon per year for the next 10 years. So it took the law that was kind of heavy into mathematics and kind of reduced it down to a more clearer form, and then also capped it lower than what the state law would allow you to go to. So
I see. And so you're going to be explaining all that Not you personally,
Right.
but the ballot will explain all that to the voter.
Yes, there's trying to, there needs to be committees prepared that do the pro and con, and then we do the explanation. And at that point, hopefully, there's enough information out there that the general public can understand whether it's a good thing or bad thing as far as they're concerned. So
Right. And then they'll have their vote in November.
that's correct.
Okay. Commissioners heard a presentation on the 2016 Amgen Bicycle Tour of California, part of which will be held at Lake Tahoe. We talked about this last county manager's report, and we had to fill in a few blanks. So,
Yes, yeah.
do you feel like you know more about Amgen now?
Well, I do. I realize it's basically the sponsor of the race. It's one of the most prestigious professional bicycle races that there are, so I've learned a little bit about it. And at the lake, what I understand is that for the men's, it's their stage 5 element of their race, and for women, it's the stage 1 of the start and finish at Heavenly, where the men start off in Lodi and finish at Heavenly at the same place. It's a big deal for Douglas County and the Lake Tahoe area for generating tourism, people to see our county. There's a lot of exposure on national TV and those kinds of things. So, yeah, I know a little more now than I did before. But
Okay.
that's about it.
Excellent. Okay, so that'll be coming up when? Soon, right?
May 19th.
May, okay. Very good.
Based on that, maybe to follow up on that, because of that, our meeting in May at the Lake Tahoe won't start until 3:30.
Oh,
Usually it starts at 1:30.
Right.
We're going to wait till the race is all finished, and then we'll start the meeting at 3:30.
I see. Okay,
So
we'll have to
more,
mention.
more to talk about that
We'll have to
later.
mention that again, yeah. Okay, well, also at their meeting, commissioners approved the updated projects list for the Western Nevada Development District Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That's a lot of words, but it was a list of various projects.
Right. It was looking at different things that would help us from an economic vitality standpoint that are not necessarily county initiated, but might be privately initiated, that allows them to get into the system for ability to get some, grants or refundings or those kinds of things, but it gets them into the state and the county's economic development process.
Okay, very good. Commissioners introduced also an ordinance, which was a second amendment to the Development and Infrastructure Agreement between Douglas County and Clear Creek Residential Development.
Right, and what's happening here is that the Clear Creek Residential Development, in working through its process for approval, had to extend water and sewer into the area, and as part of that, it looked like an opportunity for Douglas County to work with them to get some of our valley water system infrastructure extended along Foothill Road and those areas. So there was a development agreement that the Clear Creek Development Company entered into to install a portion of the line, and then there was some completion dates that were necessary at the time that was determined to be to serve the county's water at a certain location. Turns out that the wells did not go as bad as we thought they were going to do, so the necessity for the date kind of passed, and in the meantime, there was some issues on right-of-way on Foothill Road that we haven't resolved yet, so we ended up kind of stalling the construction while we sort out some of the right-of-way issues, and the necessity for the completion date that we'd originally anticipated went away, so we agreed to extend the development agreement out to the end of the year so we can kind of relax a little bit and get these things completed in a proper manner.
I see. Kind of a procedural thing.
It is.
Yeah. Well, that was the meeting. It was a fairly quick meeting, and maybe we can look ahead now. Do you have any previews of any items coming up in May before the commissioners?
We have 3 meetings. We have 4 meetings in May. We have 2 special meetings that relate to the budget on May 2nd and May 3rd. Both start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon down at the county courthouse. The first one, May 2nd meeting, will generally be dealing with the town's budget, district budgets, most of the budgets that are non-Douglas County related budgets. Well, actually, that's what they are. They're Gardnerville, Genoa, Minden, and East Fork Fire. So that will be taken care of on May 2nd.
Okay.
Then on May 3rd, we'll deal with all the county funds, the general fund, regional transportation, redevelopment, all the issues that are pretty much related to the county. And that will be heard on Tuesday night, again starting at 4 o'clock. And this is the point where the final budget for FY 16-17 will be adopted. We have to have these adopted and then filed with the state May 19th, I believe, or 15th, somewhere in that area, to comply with state law. And then these would take effect July 1st.
Okay. So 2 budget hearings and
Yes.
then a commission meeting.
Then there's the commission meeting on May 5th is going to be a long one. There's a lot of community development items on there. A lot of them are routine. We have a lot of administrative items, but the key thing I think for most people is going to be some of the hearings on the Corley Ranch. At that point, and these won't start until after 3 o'clock. We set these times certain so that people don't have to sit through all the other stuff if they're really interested in this part. The first item, item 11, will be the Corley Ranch, where the Planning Commission is reporting back to the Board of County Commissioners on the issue of the Master Plan Amendment. The Master Plan Amendment portion was completed and finalized. And the only thing left on the Corley Ranch issue at this point is the second reading of the ordinance creating the specific plan area. So that, the part that will be where we take public comment and issues are, again, is a specific plan, and as the master plan has already been completed. But we anticipate that there will be a lot of folks there that have an opinion to state on the matter.
Okay.
The second one that comes right after that is the solar ordinance. Staff had developed some amendments to the existing solar ordinance that the county has. Took it to the Planning Commission. There were some discussions there over the past. The last issue that happened is the Planning Commission rejected the draft ordinance just out of hand. So at that point, staff has to bring it back to the Board of County Commissioners, and we're going to recommend some changes from what we heard, some other modifications, see where they want to go, but there may be quite a bit of interest on that ordinance, so what finally comes out. If nothing passes, then the solar ordinance stays as it's currently written, which has been part of the problem that's created over the proposed placement of solar panels in the past.
Right.
So hopefully this will clean up a little bit and make it a little more amenable for everybody, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. And sounds like a busy May.
Yes, yes.
Because there's also a meeting at Tahoe, and I think there's also a final budget meeting, but that's very quick.
Yes,
but they actually,
right.
They say, okay, we approve this as
Yeah,
our
right,
budget.
yeah, it's usually about a 15-minute meeting because
Right.
we have these hearings and adoptions at that point. But yes, and that's what I couldn't exactly remember what the date was on that, but we'll get
Well, that'll be
that.
coming up. We'll be seeing each other before
Right,
then. So.
right.
Okay. Well, Larry, I want to thank you for all the information you've shared here on the County Manager's Report. That's what we do here. Larry Werner, our County Manager. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time on the County Manager's Report.